Each country may be separate, but they are ultimately connected to each other. What one country does may have a profound effect on another. Tune in to the facts, figures, and analysis to stay a step ahead. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today, we are going to look at the PMI, manufacturing, and we are also going to look at currencies and a few other issues, beginning with this. A little bit of background. What exactly is the PMI? And that is, quite simply, the Purchasing Managers Index. That is the PMI, and it is the indicator of the economic health of the manufacturing sector. And it's one very important indicator that we constantly look at to discover what is the current status, what is the situation. The PMI is based off of 5 major indicators: new orders, inventory levels, production, supplier deliveries, and the employment environment. It's important to know always keeping an eye on the PMI, something that we constantly need to look at to monitor. So, okay, that's a little bit of background there. Just wanted to show you that. This is the chart that I wanted to get to. Most important of all, our model of the global PMI suggests growth momentum is set to fade over the coming months as the lagged benefit from falling commodity prices wears off. And you will see what's going on right now. Throughout 2017, they are predicting some amount of decline to occur. It's not saying it's going to be, the biggest collapse ever. It's simply suggesting that the tables will continue to turn. And the PMI really hasn't been able to get to where it was previously prior to the financial crisis, of course. And you could see this here. I actually find it interesting the way that they show this chart. It looks like it literally drops off the earth. But that's what happened. When you have any sort of crisis, you have inventories that build up, you have employment that begins to suffer, and so on, and the PMI reflects that. It isn't the be-all, end-all indicator. It's not something that you can just look at this one indicator and discuss the health of the particular economy. It doesn't work like that. You need to see this among everything else, and I do believe that it is important. So connected in with that, I have a couple more charts here. I'm just going to go through them quickly. There's a lot to cover. China's PMI, on the other hand, has risen by 7 points over the past 15 months and are now close to a 6-year high, consistent with GDP growth of 8%. So something is going on. I'm getting much of this, a real big mixed message coming out of China at this time. I've heard economists talking about China starting to, the wheels are spinning again. But simultaneously, I read a lot of data that showed quite the opposite. So I'd like to keep a closer eye on exactly what's happening here. Obviously, just with any economy, for example, the manufacturing sector might be doing well because, those are exports. But then on the import side of things, domestic consumption may be suffering. You need to understand, there's multiple sides to anything. And then top right one, a negative credit impulse in Q1 is very difficult to avoid, however, pointing to the downside for the PMIs. And I just showed you that. Then you look at a further weakening in fixed asset investment, FAI, by SOEs, state-owned enterprises, which already slowed sharply in December. Interesting. Real estate and private FAIs, again, that's a fixed asset investment. The other components of overall FAI have also started to stall over the past couple months. Growth is reliable proxy for China's GDP growth. And look at that. Slowly over the past few years, coming down in a nice decline. So again, we get a little bit of mixed messages going on here, and I do believe that each sector is independent from the others, though on a deeper level, surely they do show that they are all interconnected, even globally. Global credit impulse falls back to zero. And look where it was. I mean, during the financial crisis, clearly not at that moment right now, but it has come down significantly, this global credit impulse, just in the past, let's say, year or so. So we have to keep an eye on this one as well. I'm looking at global, but as you can see for yourself, for the most part anyway, you'll see that they are generally linked together. And then you will see instances where that's not true. For example, right in here. But to me, when I look at something like this, it's a very small piece of the puzzle. I thought it'd be interesting to include regardless. Now, the Netherlands. All my friends from the Netherlands, hello. The future relationship with the euro will be comprehensively debated by its parliament following the elections in March after lawmakers commissioned a report on the currency's future. Huge news. This right here. I mean, once something makes it up to that high level, that chain of command, you know that it is being considered. Doesn't necessarily mean that anything's going to happen. But what an interesting concept. Could this be because of the whole Brexit scenario? I don't know. But I think it's huge. I think it would be great. I think it would be great if that would actually occur. The motion approving the investigation by the Council of State, the government's legal advisor, coincides with the rising tide of Euroscepticism in Europe, which populist parties are hoping to tap into. A series of national elections this year are also taking in Eurozone powerhouses France and Germany. Once again, we need to keep our eyes on what's happening with these elections. Looking at France with Le Pen going from literally nobody knew who she was, probably when I started hearing about her, it had to be not quite 10 years ago, but a little before that, where it was very much in the fringe, and now coming out as a frontrunner. And that's all I'm going to say about this. Let's see what actually happens after that time. China's crackdown on overseas investment is hitting Hollywood, torpedoing a deal that would have put MGM Studios under Chinese control and placing other high-profile acquisitions in limbo. So apparently that has been taken down. This is all part of capital controls. They don't want the capital outflows to take place at such a high degree. At least that's the excuse on the upper level. I would say that maybe they were going too fast, and they raised a little bit of these alarm bells, as they did with me, and they're just doing this to make a little effort to say, look, it's not us, the government is doing it, okay? We don't want to take over your country. We just want to, make sure everything is just organic and natural and everything. And I'm not even suggesting that, of course, they would do that. I'm just thinking it's very odd. Very, very odd that they go full steam ahead and then all of a sudden they just back off at one point. Seems unusual to me. This here's actually some good news. And this article is talking about how doctors are choosing to use food as medicine instead. Of course, this is a very, very small percentage, but they call it food as medicine. Excellent. Going back, of course, to Hippocrates. According to the CDC, this actually upset me, which is the reason I put it in here, though. The CDC, nearly half of all Americans routinely take prescription drugs, and 75% of all doctors' visits involve drugs. Wow. You know, they decide which drugs are banned and which drugs are allowed to be sold to people stuffed down their throats. Look at this as an example. 75% of the time. You know, when I talk to people in Toronto, at least, whatever it is, whether it's their children, it's themselves, most of the time, I would say 75% at the very least, it ends up ending with some sort of antibiotics or anything else. And where, you know, now, as scientists have discovered, we are moving into the post-antibiotic era, this is all because of that. That just giving drugs. But people, see, the reason I mention this is because people want to leave the doctor's office with something in hand. They don't want to think that they didn't come out with something for them. So they ask, can I get some antibiotics? Can I get this? Or the doctors simply would just refer them to get that. And I think it's a terrible idea. I think this is destroying the human organisms, essentially, and then it's having a ripple effect. Look at what is happening out there. And I'm very happy to see something like food as medicine. I think that's excellent to hear. So a little bit of positive news in this world today. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found the video informative, I know you will find my book, The Money GPS, even more informative. So head over to Amazon, where they have a look inside feature that will allow you to flip through the pages of the book and see if you like it. Take care.